Last week, I flew to Salt Lake City, my old stomping ground. It was incredible to be there. I have so much love for that place. I've got such a rich history of relationships and friends, and it was great to see everyone. But I wasn't there for those reasons. I was there for business. I was there to train. I was there to coach. I was there to speak. By the time the week was over, I had been in a completely different room every single day with different audiences, different environments. I was having different conversations. Monday, as an example, I was inside of a corporate training environment with employees of a company. Tuesday, I spent tons of time, many hours recording modules for a real estate training program with one of my clients. Wednesday, we had our lab call. Also, I spoke at a networking event, and later that day, I was on a podcast with Adam Nugent, Burn Up podcast, which when it releases, I'll share with you guys. Thursday was another crazy day. I spoke at another networking event, taught those people about the concept of your inner world and filling in your mind the very specifics of exactly what you want so that you can experience that in your physical reality, but understanding a concept called the buffer, where you are being invited to become the person that can handle the thing that you want. You have to increase in capacity and be ready to handle those things in life. That evening on Thursday was the crown jewel of the week, and that I got to speak in front of close to 100 different real estate investors and entrepreneurs. And then Friday, I got to go back to that same corporate office and do interviews, sat down one-on-one with all of the employees that I had worked with on Monday, and talk to them about the specifics of what I'm going to talk to you about today. So I was in front of corporate employees, entrepreneurs, real estate investors, podcast audience, of course, the lab community, completely different people. But something interesting happened to me. Every single room that I walked into, it all eventually landed back at the same conversation. No matter the door that I went into or what I was training or the exactness of what I was sharing, it always went to the same place. And that same place is authorship. The idea that your life is not something that simply happens to you, but that you are writing it. You are the author of your life. And if you're not writing it intentionally, someone else will write it for you. Monday in that corporate environment, I wanted to let them see something right away. Because in a corporate environment, it's very easy to buy into a bunch of stories that really minimize you as a person. And so I wanted to make sure that these individuals in this room understood something very simple, that their job does not define their life. The job can either be a cage or it can be a springboard, a launch pad. You can work for the same company, have the same hours and the same role, but one employee or one person can look at it completely different than another. It all depends on how you as the employee approach things. It was interesting to see because some people use their job as the excuse for why they can't build the life that they want, and others use their job as a vehicle that funds and accelerates the life that they want. Both of those two examples demonstrate authorship. It's how they are showing up to it. Tuesday when I was recording those real estate modules with my client, we were technically talking about real estate and escrow and title. But in some of the side conversations that we were having, the conversation moved to a different place. We talked about the type of people that would be watching this module. And that then ended up having us discuss identity and the choice that we have to choose who we are, to choose who we want to be. That's a mechanism of identity. Tactics, they only work for people that believe that they deserve the result. I saw this in front of that real estate group on Thursday night. You can teach someone every strategy in the world. You can give them access to the most amazing resources and tools. But if internally they don't believe that they're the kind of person who wins, they will find a way to sabotage the opportunity. And again, that's a conversation that leads back to the same place, which is authorship. Now you're listening to this, and I want to pose that question. Who do you believe you are? Are you a winner? Are you someone that struggles? Are you a loser? Because you get to answer that. And the beautiful part of that answer is that it can change. Wednesday during the lab call, we got really practical this time. I introduced 7 integration habits. It's one thing to talk about mindset, but it's another thing to structure your day so that it can get out of the way and make it easier for your mindset to remain on point, to create habits and strategy and things that can make it so it actually supports the life that you want. So I taught 7 integration habits, 7 simple practices that make your day cleaner, make your day clearer, give you more internal bandwidth. These habits that I talked about remove friction and chaos. Because let's be honest, most people are operating in chaos all the time, and they're wanting time management tips. They're wanting things to help them with the chaos, but you can't even address the chaos until you can put up some barriers and walls to make it so that you can actually have peace first, so that you can then see into the chaos. If your mind is disorganized, your life will become disorganized. Habits are a daily mechanic of authorship. How you actually live instead of just talking about it, like what you do. Later that day after the lab call, there was another networking event put on by one of my former clients and member of the lab, Brett Johnson. And in that same thing, we talked about a bunch of different stuff. We talked about capacity. We talked about knowing what you want, getting out of your own way. But it addressed something really interesting. Entrepreneurs have this faulty thought that oftentimes success is a result of seized opportunity. And while that is a piece of it, and there is confirmation bias to tell a story that it's about an opportunity that you seize, it's not that. It's about capacity. What feels overwhelming to one person is a routine for someone else whose identity and nervous system can hold more. And so that means that you need to understand opportunity is going to show up all the time, but your capacity will depend on whether you can keep it. Capacity is directly connected to your own authorship, your own willingness to elevate your skills, your mindset, your internal boundaries to a place where you can handle what you want. You can handle the bigger life, the responsibility of success and wealth. Like I said, opportunities will show up all the time, and if you're not ready, you will mistakenly think that they don't. After that, I went on Adam Nugent's podcast, Burn Up. I'll release the links to that when it comes out. That was interesting too, because we got into a deeper conversation about identity. What is our identity? How do we change our identity? What is it that are the pieces of it? And one idea kept surfacing, that even though identity is a choice and that there's reasons behind why we choose certain parts of our identity that come from other influences, identity is actually fortified through practice. You become the version of yourself that you repeatedly practice yourself to be. Your habits are a part of that. Your habits reinforce evidentially that. And it's not in a have, do, be format. It's in a be, do, have format. Authorship includes you understanding and decided who you are first. I'm excited for you to hear that conversation on that podcast because it's a good one. Your habits are the evidence that show where your priorities lie. Then Thursday comes. Another networking event called Bold. That, I think, might have been my most impactful for me personally. What I got out of it the most was meeting with those people and sharing with them the reality of how your inner world and the data that you put into your inner world matters. that the universe and life will present you a buffer that will be an invitation to level up so that you can handle that life before you can experience it in your physical reality. Thursday night, I got to speak in front of about 100 different real estate investors. Real estate investors that are a part of an organization that have access to some of the most intense and effective tools for qualifying deals, for finding real estate deals, for financing real estate deals, all of the other ancillary things that you would need to make sure your deal flow goes great. And while all of that is incredibly important, you can learn all the tactics and the techniques and learn how to negotiate and create a financing structure and all that. If internally you believe you are the type of person that loses, you will find a way to lose. I started that speech with a question. How many of you know people that have been successful in real estate? Everybody's hands went up. How many of you people know people that have failed in real estate? Was my follow-up question. Of course, everybody raised their hand too. And I asked, do you know what the difference is? The difference is you. You can learn every tactic. It's not the market. There are people making tons of money in bad markets, and there are people that make no money in incredible markets. So what's the difference? It's the story that you're living about you inside of you. Now, by the time Friday came and the week wrapped up, I was preparing to come home on Saturday. And that was another treat. Instead of flying back to Scottsdale, I got to drive back with my mother. It was a long drive, hours on the road, chatting with her, listening to music, laughing, reminiscing. And there was a time during that drive where her and I started talking about my dad. My dad passed away several years ago. And my mom said something that really stuck with me. She said that in her dating efforts, there's been something that's been a common theme that have come up with the men she's dated. And recognize, she's in her 70s and it's a whole different world at that place. And so it's not out of the question dating at that age to where you might have lost a spouse or there was other calamity that had come into your life relative to your marital relationships or family that are something you just talk about. You've lived a long life when you're at that age. And so it comes with a lot of things. But my mom said that when she would discuss things and talk about my dad and whatnot and the getting to know of these people, that every single one of these lovely men to which she has allowed a portion of herself into their life and vice versa have said that they feel like they would always be living in the shadow of my dad. That in spite of all of the challenges that they had throughout their life and the things that they went through, that my dad left that kind of mark. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. This is a man who's no longer physically here. And you've heard me talk about some of the disappointments that I've had with my father and the choices that he made. But the way that he lived and the way he showed up, the way that he loved, his level of kindness and support, the way he carried himself, it still had an impact strong enough that people feel it years later through my mom. That's authorship. My dad didn't get everything right. Far from it. None of us do. But that part, he got it right. He lived in a certain way that left a mark. And that conversation with my mom made something click for me as I thought about this whole week. All those different rooms I was in and the conversations I had, all those people that were there trying to make their lives better. But there are two ideas that kept showing up over and over again. The first one I've talked about a little bit here, and that's the idea of authorship, that you're writing your own story. You are the hero of your own movie. The second one was compounding. Because authorship requires direction. It requires that you take action. And compounding is what will determine those results. It's a simple truth that your life rarely changes because of one giant moment. Your life changes because of hundreds, sometimes thousands of small, kept commitments and decisions that have been stacked together over time. Every habit that you do compounds. Every belief that you have about yourself or others compounds. Every standard compounds. Even the way you speak to yourself has a compounding effect. I've been watching that happen in my own life recently in a very real way. A while back, I made a commitment that I was going to start taking my physical health a lot more seriously. I've always had a commitment to my health and fitness, but it had been casual and I'd struggled with alcohol. But I made a commitment several months ago to change that up. And this was not a casual commitment. I directly attached it to my purpose, which is what I want to do. I wanted to change how this was affecting me because I wanted a certain level of result that I hadn't experienced yet. And I realized something yesterday as I was checking out of where I was staying. There's a big full-length mirror in front of the bathroom. And because of the floor plan of the place, I had to walk from my room to the bathroom naked, basically. And I saw a version of myself in that mirror that I had never seen before. I saw Bryce the Spartan. I saw abs I hadn't seen before. I saw tightness of skin. It was awesome. And I've seen those results coming on, but yesterday was the best I'd ever seen. And it lit me up with so much motivation to keep going. And just like that moment for me, I know for you that eventually you will wake up and realize something has changed in your life, whether it's good or bad. Because compounding isn't just the positive things. When you do negative things or unsupportive things to your life over and over and over again, it's compounding as well. I just have in this example, a physical one. I'm reaching a level of fitness I'd never reached before with abs and strength and energy. And it didn't happen because of one decision. It happened because I was committed and then I kept doing little things over and over and over and over again in a measurable way. And that's why on that drive home with my mom, something really clicked. That authorship, it chooses a direction. Now, you can be a part of that choice or you can be apathetic to it. But you are either writing your own story or someone is writing it for you. But a story about you and the list of results and whatnot are a part of it. And you are experiencing all that whether you see it or not. Your life is not determined by one massive moment. It's determined by what you repeatedly do. Which means every single day, you are either writing the story of what you want or you are unconsciously letting someone else write it for you. And what I want out of this episode is I want to help you take the pen back. We've established that you're the author of your life. Well, how do you actually start writing a better story about your life? Because most people think that they know what they want until you ask them specifically what they want, and then they give you broad strokes. I want to be rich. I want to have more time freedom. I want a better life. Those are great ideas, but that's not a design. Those are vague preferences is what they are. And a vague preference can't create anything. It just creates a vague life. So one of the things that I had people do was an exercise that seems incredibly simple. And honestly, I have every single one of my coaching clients do this. I have people in the lab do this. It exposes something that most people have never actually done. It exposes what you actually want and where your ceiling is for how you see yourself as being worthy of getting it. And the exercise is that I have them create 2 lists. Each list is one of 100 items, 100 material items. You want cars and houses and computers and watches and clothes, whatever, great. 100 material items that they want, make a list, go. The second list is 100 experiences that they want to have in their life. Now, you want to be courtside at the NBA Finals, great. You want to run for president, whatever. It doesn't matter. These are experiences to which you want to enjoy in your life. And a lot of times when I say this, people think it's pretty easy. They don't see the gap between conceptually quantifying 100 experiences and 100 material items and actually sitting down and doing it. Because it's not actually easy. This thing happens when people actually sit down to do it, is they stall out once they get into it. I've seen people stall out by the 20th item. Their brain starts doing something interesting. It starts negotiating. It starts censoring. It starts saying things like, you know what, I don't really need a lot, man. I'm not into the material items that much. I've heard that one more times than I can count. I'm not really into that, man. Like, I don't need a lot. I don't think about stuff like that. So they are taking their own benevolence and making it that they're a better person because they don't want as much. That's just a negotiation with yourself. Because when I have these interviews, even just group environments where we're talking about this list, I'll say, okay, so you've never wanted this? Oh, no, that'd be cool. What about this? Oh, that'd be great. Or I take one of the items on their experience list and I go, you want to go hike a mountain in Europe? Well, what would you need to do that? Wouldn't you need some gear? Wouldn't you need the right hiking boots or backpack? Oh, yeah. Well, wouldn't you want to buy the best? Oh, yeah. And their mind starts churning again. But before they get to that point, they negotiate and censor themselves and they say things like it's unrealistic, or even worse, they judge themselves for thinking that they don't need it. That's a classic one. I actually like it when people say, oh, I never thought about before. That I can work with. That's an easier one. But the ones where they say, I don't need it, or I shouldn't have it, that's a big one. Most people never allowed themselves to dream. They've only lived reactively to life. Now, when I did this exercise in that corporate environment, I watched something happen in real time. There was an energy of excitement about it, and there was some little bit joking, and everyone committed to do it. They thought it was going to be a fun exercise. But then when we start going through and I map out for them what they're going to experience, it kind of shifted. They started thinking harder. When I had my follow-ups, interviews with each of these individuals as well, I saw that in real time, where they hadn't done even remotely close to 100 items of each list. And the one specifically that had the shortest list was so uncomfortable energetically, had played so small in life for so long that it was ridiculously uncomfortable to even allow the idea of seeking what he wanted. We worked through that and started the process to shift out of that. But it pains me when I see that, because we all deserve to have a bigger life, not because of greed or pride, but because having a bigger life would require a bigger version of you. And there's an incredible opportunity to become better when you do that. And each one of those moments where they stall out, it's because they got uncomfortable. In this exercise, it forces you to confront something. You can't build a life that you've never defined for yourself. You can't go to a place that you haven't chosen the destination. And eventually, one of those people that I was working with said something interesting. They said, I don't think I've ever really allowed myself to think about what I want. And that sentence right there, while it was an epiphany for that individual, that's something I hear all the time. Because most of us, most of you have been too busy surviving, so busy meeting somebody else's expectations for you, so busy doing what you're supposed to do, what you're being told to do, that you've actually never authored your own life. Now, some of you might be listening to this and go, well, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm doing this. I'm like, yeah, I get that. But show me your priorities and show me your results, and I'll show you where your life is. And I'm willing to bet there's big gaps in exactly what you're doing versus exactly what you want. And that is where we got to start looking at authorship, because the biggest piece of that, and relating to this example with the lists here, is permission. Permission to decide what your life actually looks like instead of deal with what shows up for you. Consider those two things. Permission to decide what your life actually looks like versus dealing with what your life actually is. Now, here's the thing that most people misunderstand. They misunderstand that clarity creates momentum. It's not that way. Momentum is what creates clarity. You have to go in the direction of the thing, even if it's cloudy and murky. You have to have an idea of what you want and then get in motion, and then the picture of that will get more detailed. When you sit down to do a list like this, you don't know what you want. There's no clarity at all until you start allowing yourself the momentum of thought, of dream, of choice. And then it gets clearer and clearer. Think about this. If somebody told you, hey, meet me in Arizona, that's not helpful, dude. This state is huge. But if someone says, meet me at this address at this time of day on this day, very, very clear and exact. That's how life works. That's how these lists work. The more specific you get about what you want, the easier it is to move towards it. And when people start filling out these lists in this exercise, something interesting happens. They start to see patterns. They start to see where certain environments are showing up and certain type of lifestyle starts representing itself. There's certain type of work they want to do. And suddenly they realize something. They've been living inside a script that somebody else wrote. They weren't the author of the life they're living. Now, as I shared in the lab call, I talked about these integration habits. This is where these integration habits start to show up in this whole bigger picture, because writing the list it's a version of authorship. It's a start. You're living, your life requires the structure of knowing what you want. And one of the reasons why people's lives feel chaotic is because their days are chaotic. Their mornings are rushed. Their priorities are whimsically changing every hour. Their attention is scattered, chaos everywhere. And then they wonder why their life feels exactly that same way, why it's disorganized. And if your day is disorganized, your life will be disorganized. So in the lab call, we talked about 7 integration habits. Habits that will clear and clean up your day. The way your day starts, the way your day goes, the way your day ends. Habits that remove friction. Habits that put up walls so that you can remember what your own voice sounds like. Habits that give you a container so that your mind can be clear and you can listen to who you want to listen to inside of you instead of taking direction from someone else. It makes it so your decisions get better, your energy stabilizes, and suddenly you have the capacity to actually move towards that life that you want because your cup is full. But this is where that second principle comes in that I talked about. It wasn't just authorship as the main point of this episode. It's compounding. Because here's what people get wrong. They think that life changes through one giant decision, and it doesn't. It changes through hundreds of small decisions that are compounded and stacked on top of each other. The gym is a perfect example. You can have one amazing workout, not going to transform your body. But one great workout will lead to another, and another, and another, and then something changes. You start to see results. Your body becomes different. Your energy goes up. And because of that, you start to see yourself different. So you start to have evidence of your new identity. The same thing happens in your life. Every positive habit, when you do it over and over again, it compounds. Every decision that you make compounds. Every belief compounds. Your identity will compound itself. Even the way you talk to yourself compounds. I have found myself lately really being direct with people when they say things to which do not work for me as far as communication about me, to me, about themselves, to themselves. How you talk to yourself is one of the most compounding effects ever. If you consistently remind yourself that you suck or that you're not good or whatever, that's what you're going to experience. But if you remind yourself that you're great, then that will be how you see yourself and that will be your experience. There is no neutral ground in this. You are compounding towards a life that you will experience. Whether you want it or not depends on your choice. Now, when I look back on this incredible week in Salt Lake, I realized something. Every room that I walked into was dealing with the same two forces. The direction of their lives and the way that their decisions and choices were compounding. Now, direction comes from authorship. You're choosing which way to go. Compounding comes from habits. And if you combine those two things, you have a recipe that can make you have your life change. Because now you know where you're going and your daily behavior will support it. It's kind of awesome, actually. Now, to wrap this up, here's what I want to do. First of all, I want to invite you to do this exercise. I want you to imagine and create two separate lists. 100 material items on one, 100 experiences that you want on the other. Don't filter it. Don't edit it. Don't worry about whether it's realistic. Just allow yourself the exercise of dreaming and writing it down. Because the purpose of this exercise is not the realism of it. The purpose of this list is to see how you compare to what you put on there. It's about clarity. It's about your identity. I want you to pick one area in your life where you're going to practice your authorship. We have 4 domains: your health and fitness, your money and business, your spirituality, and your personal relationships. So I want you to pick one area where you're going to practice that. Like I said, I don't care if it's your health, your work, your relationships, your voice. When you start stacking small decisions, commitments over and over and over again, it will compound. So your authorship is your direction, and then your choices, compounding, will be what build the life. And if you start stacking those decisions intentionally, something incredible happens. You will look for more excuses to stack better decisions because it gets addicting how good life starts to feel. And then those results come in and you're like, wow, I want more of this. And that is day one of you reaching into the life that you actually didn't ever think was possible for you. But it requires those two things. You got to pick up the pen and write out your life, be the author of your life, and then you have to compound your decisions over and over again so that it will create that. And I can promise you this, you'll have in this moment, you'll realize something powerful. You'll realize that you never needed permission. You just needed to do something. My friends, I am excited for you to really dive into this episode. I want you to re-listen to it if you need to. I have my own lists of 100. I have my own authorship exercises and integration habits so that I can have evidence of the identity that I've chosen for myself and that my life can represent and reflect something that's beautiful and amazing. And I want that for you, but you have to want it for you. This episode is rich. I want you to share it with your friends. I want you to tag me on social media. I want you to take it seriously. If you apply the things we've talked about today, you will experience a better life. And it will be a life you like because you are choosing it. Man, life is good. I'm grateful. Now I'm going to wrap this up because I've spoken long enough. And what I want you to do isn't to sit and ruminate on anything. I want you to get to work. Go re-listen to aspects of this episode. Make your lists of 100 and then reach out to me about it. One of the things that's going to happen when you get into this new level of authorship is you're going to realize how much scaffolding is required in the building of this new life of yours and how you do need support and community. And fortunately, because of the lab, I can offer that to you in a way that's very, very powerful. In the show notes of this podcast, there's a link to go see if the lab would be a fit for you with an application process. It's a very simple application. It's the doorway for you to see if you want to join that community or if in certain specific cases, you might want to work with me one-on-one as somebody to guide you through this process as scaffolding as you build and construct this new life of yours. Go to bryceprescott.com. First tab, the lab experience. Check it out. Anyway, my friends, I'm grateful for you. Share this episode. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's create lives that have meaning because we choose it. Let's get exactly what we want out of this life. And like I always say, until next time, take it a day at a time. I'll see you.